Hello, everyone. Welcome to Monday Live with Greg at Another Bibliophile Reads, Alan at Big Hard Books and Classics, and another Greg at Ghost Readers in the Sky. So if you are in the comment section, drop in and say hello. We had James Holder a little earlier. Hello, James.
Hey, James.
James.
You haven't seen James in a while.
No, we had him as a guest. Oh, must have been
Last year.
ago, 10 months last year. Yeah. So, Greg, how's it going with you? Anything exciting happening?
I'm on Monday Live. I mean, what's more exciting than that?
Well, maybe some things are more exciting. Oh, losing my
For Monday.
For a Monday, it's good.
No football on. So, Greg, this is Greg. I have a question for you. In my mind, I have that you live in New Mexico. Did you tell me that, or did I dream it?
You may have dreamed it.
Oh,
if I told you that, I was joshing with you.
Somebody was talking about New Mexico, but because I like New Mexico, I can't remember though.
I like New Mexico as well, but no, I'm in Idaho.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, by me, kind of.
You said you lived in Washington State for a while on the eastern side, so Idaho is not that big of a jump.
No,
right. Well,
and then
yeah.
I know you've been to Portland a few times too, just in your travels.
Yeah, lived in eastern Washington for a while, but just right across the Snake River from. Lived in Clarkston, Washington, which is right across the river from Lewiston, Idaho. Lewiston, Clarkston, Lewis and Clark. Get it? Get it?
Wow,
yeah.
Cool.
And so, so within a mile.
I like Lewis to Clark. That Oregon Trail ended at Seaside. They have a plaque up there and that.
Yeah.
I like that beach.
Yeah, that's Fort Clatsop, isn't it?
What? I don't know.
They have a nice. There's a really nice. The National Park Service has a park there as part of the Lewis and Clark trails, and I think that's called Fort Clatsop, but it's right there.
Yeah, we drive through and then just get out and walk around. I get my ankles wet in the ocean, and I like the plein air painters. They all out there. Yeah, I like the ocean a lot. Who doesn't? Well, some people don't. But.
Yeah. We've got Albert the Conjugator. Hello, gentlemen. He is going to be our guest next week.
Yes. Hey, Albert.
And hey, Pat. Pat at Book Chat with Pat. Hello, Pat. How's it going?
We're in our close-up mode. Tonight.
Yeah, we are tonight. I'm having trouble staying centered for whatever reason. My chair is squiggly. So every time I wiggle, I get out of center.
Too much WD-40 on that.
No, it's a turning chair. One of those with raise up, raise down.
Yeah. How many legs does it have?
I don't know.
5 or 4?
2, 3, 4.
4?
4. Some of them have 6.
Yeah. I haven't seen a 6 one. The good ones have 5, like a ceiling fan. Mine only has 4, but the good ones, like you have, probably are 5 blades. I used to sell furniture.
Yep. And we've got Ariane here. Hello, Ariane. She's commenting on our hats.
Oh.
Yeah. This is the second time we've had a all hat season show.
Yeah, it was a wild rehearsal today. Right. Hats, and we couldn't decide what hats to wear and stuff. But
Alan's lying. These shows are totally unscripted. We do absolutely no preparation whatsoever other than ensuring that the guest has a link to the show.
Yeah, Ariane and I are in a Praiseworthy group, and then is she in the Steinbeck group too, I think? She's in a few groups.
She might be.
But the Praiseworthy, that's we were thinking about DNFing it, the whole group. It's a 600-page group, and it's a 3-month-long thing. We're in our last month. Jess at Stalking Kafka. was going through a slump, and she even did a video about it. But anyway, it's a good book, but it's like, come on. And we got revitalized, and people are listening to it too now. And it's an Australian book about Aborigines, and real funny but tragic too, about climate change and all this. It's hard to describe. 600 pages, a lot.
That's a lot. I mean, my edition of The Grapes of Wrath, well, I did digital, but I looked it up. It's like 525, something like that. And Grapes of Wrath goes over 600 next month.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying my read of it. It's really moving and cathartic. Up and down and all around, and I get mad. Yeah, he's become my favorite American.
I'm surprised of just how relevant this novel is feeling for today. I mean, it was published in 1939. You figure, oh, it's old, has nothing to say, but issues they were having back then are some of the issues that we're experiencing now, and people have not changed. It's just, instead of Oklahoma migrants, now it's Latin American immigrants that are the group no one wants.
Yep. One time it was the Irish. Irish need not apply.
One time it was the Norwegians. I remember, because just before we started on this show, we're talking a little bit about Willa Cather. And Willa Cather is probably my wife's favorite author. And we were reading My Antonia in 2016. Trump had just been elected president. And he was saying, we want to get rid of the immigrants. We want good immigrants, like the Norwegians.
Oh.
And here I am reading My Antonia, where all the Norwegians were the hated immigrant group. And I'm going,
boy, that's
don't know your history very well, do you?
Yeah, it's an amazing thing about reading, how it can coincide like that, or even just in your normal life, or somebody will be having a conversation and read about it. I don't understand people who don't read, don't like to read. I know a few of them, like, oh, it makes me sleepy. I can't. I never finish it.
Well, that's.
Yeah,
I know Steve Donahue talks about it. He says like 80% of the population does not read, except for like newspaper or internet stuff, that they just never pick up a book.
Yeah.
So Ariane, yes, she's in Steinbeck. Albert, we Italians were unwanted once too.
Yeah.
Movie about Mother Carabini who brought a tear to my eye. Okay.
Oh.
All right, Greg. So the tradition is we start off the beginning talking about books we have recently read or currently reading, or something that you want to highlight for everyone in the chat group. And as a guest, you get to go first.
All right. Well, the book I just finished, and it will I'll have a longer video about this as part of my June on the Range weekly update. But a book by an author, B.M. Bauer. Bertha Muzzy Sinclair was her name, and she wrote under the name B.M. Bauer. I think Bauer was her maiden name. Sinclair was her married name, I think.
Okay.
And then she just used her initials, which is fairly common. So I think book I read, Chip of the Flying U. I think it was early 1900 something, 1903 maybe, somewhere in there. After the Virginian, but not that far after. But she was a writer. She was raised in Montana, and so when she writes about the West, she's writing from direct experience, as opposed to, Owen Wister and Zane Grey and Max Brand and others who may have visited at some point, but
she was a native.
She was a native. She grew up on a cattle ranch in Montana. So she knew she knows the country of the West, and you can tell that she is a Westerner because she's talking about somebody, a friend of hers who's the main character. I mean, who let's see. I'll see if I can frame this. I hadn't thought about how I was going to frame this, but now I got it. So
Go ahead.
so the main character is a doctor. She's just finished medical school, and her brother has a ranch in Montana, and so she has just come out to visit him. She's 23 years old, has her medical degree, and actually goes to Helena to get her license to practice medicine in Montana.
When is this book set?
It's set in Montana. The area is called Dry Lake, but it must be
What year? Do you know?
Early 1900s.
Okay, I'm just saying because you're talking about a female doctor, and I'm going
Yeah.
like, wow,
Yeah.
that was really not common back then.
Yeah,
Dr.
And she-
Quinn, Medicine Woman. I used to like that show a lot.
yeah, and and she talks about it when she comes back and she has her license that they didn't go easy on her. They ask her all the same questions that they ask everybody else, and I think in the book I think she was the first female doctor in the state of Montana. I think that's how the character was set up. But anyway, she's got another doctor friend who she's trying to get to come out and visit the ranch. And she talks about Dr. Grantham being back east. And by back east, she means Ohio.
Okay, I
So
can understand.
that's a sign of a Westerner when you say the Midwest is back east.
Yeah. I was born in Ohio. And I haven't been like east. I've never been to Boston, Philly, NYC, unfortunately, but someday.
Yeah. So Chip of the Flying U, it's a Western, but it's and there's a lot of cowboy action, a lot, because the Cowhands are doing a lot of breaking horses and rounding up cattle, but it's really there's a romance going on between our doctor and Chip the cowhand.
Nice.
And
The cowhand, huh?
yeah.
Wow. All right.
So it's a really well written, really enjoyable, fun novel with enough action to make it interesting. But having a female doctor, having Chip, besides being a cowhand, he's also a painter.
Oh,
So he's painting Western scenes. Reminds me a lot of Charles M. Russell or Will James or somebody like that, who was, out working on ranches, but also was an artist.
mhm.
Yeah, because you mentioned, I mean, Ariane, I'm going to jump the thing just a little bit because I love learning about women Western writers. I'll have to look her up because I don't know many women that wrote a lot of Westerns. It's just a very male, heavily dominated genre.
Yes. Yeah. So Bienbauer, Bertha, she wrote quite a few up through the 20s anyway. She was a pretty prolific writer and apparently sold pretty well because she kept publishing books. Most of them are set in Montana or Idaho or Wyoming. That's kind of the area that she wrote about.
Can you repeat her name again so I can look this up after the show?
Yeah, the initials are BM, and the last name is Bauer, Bower.
Bower. Because I'm thinking she's probably public domain at this point.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, there are quite a few out on Project Gutenberg.
Okay.
A
but
couple
MJ
dozen
was
anyway.
a lot. And Pat, in a video yesterday or so, I just watched it today, though, I agreed with her that, like, although she doesn't like the romance genre, she likes a little romance, or doesn't mind like a romance in a novel. And I feel the same way, I like a little romance in a novel sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's nice to see, especially when that's not the only thing that's going on. It's not just
Right.
will they, won't they kind of thing. It's just, here are people, they're doing things in the same place at the same time, and something might happen.
Okay.
Yeah, naturally.
Yeah. One of the few other early writers that I can think of who was writing fiction is Dorothy M. Johnson, probably best known for writing the short story "The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance."
I've
Wow.
heard of that short story or that story before.
Yeah,
Sure.
which was, of course, made into the film starring Jimmy Stewart.
Mhm.
She
And a
also
song.
wrote.
It
She
was a
also
song.
wrote the short story "A Man Called Horse," that the film was based on. So she had and was a fairly prolific, really more of a short story writer than writing novels, but she did write a lot and was published in the same magazines, alongside.
Hmm.
The Argosy and the
Western stories.
yep, all those things. So had and using the name Dorothy Johnson. So there we go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the inside, like, of Elmore
Elmore
Leonard.
Leonard. All right.
Yeah, it's a great book. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think that's just about the same time frame when Elmore Leonard was, he wrote a lot of westerns early in his career. I think that's about the time that I think that's about the time that Dorothy M. Johnson was writing her short stories as well.
Yeah, this is a cool book because all the titles, they have the original title, and then when it was published, like The Colonel's Lady, Zane Grey's Westerns, November '52. Then I have a date on it when I read it. I read this back in 6/3/23. It was for a buddy read this with Ollie.
Ollie for the first year of June on the Range.
Yeah, I had some other westerns down there. Yeah, I spent a lot of time, did a lot of time in Phoenix area. I haven't lived there now in like 15 years, but the desert grows on you.
Yeah,
I kind of miss it, but that overwhelming heat is. Here's a nice breeze flowing through here now, and I'm just copacetic, but that heat did something to my brain pan.
All right, Greg. Any other books you want to talk about?
I am in the John Berryman group, and I am that's a whole new world. This particular style of poetry is not something that I read a lot. It's been a challenge, but I have been really enjoying reading the poems and being part of a larger discussion. But it's a different world than I usually.
Yeah, I don't have my Berryman book handy. It's over.
I'm in the group too, but I'm sort of like not. When I ever heard a choice, there's the Berryman book or another book. Picking up the other book and not reading my Berryman. So
you guys are kind of silent in the group too.
I know. I mean, it's not that I dislike him. He has the Dream Song number 14 that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
About
Wag,
and it's all about the not allowed to admit that you're boring or bored.
Yeah.
You have no inner resources.
Inner resources. Yeah, my mother said, "I have no inner resources."
So I'm going to try to get back. I'm going to try to get back into Berryman. I mean, I'll see how it goes. I've just got so much other books stacked up at my side. It's just
I have not been reading more than one poem at a time. That lets me, and they're fairly short. Most of them fit on a page, and so you can read them, and you can read them even if you read slow. you read them fairly quickly, and then you've got a chance to think about them and try to absorb
Mhm.
what's
Well,
going on.
I
So,
go at them with like the rhyme scheme first before I even like kind of read it. Just
You know, I don't even pay attention to the rhyme scheme.
that's my into it.
That's my background noise. I don't care.
Oh, because they do have because otherwise it's kind of they don't make a lot of sense sometimes. And then the Mr. Bones comes in with his jive talk, but I'm glad we have Thomas and Philip. They're like scholars, Berryman scholars. So
I've been paying a little bit of attention. Yeah, they're really knowledgeable about their subject.
yeah, more than me. So
It sort of intimidates me because I'm going, yeah, it's okay. I like it,
yeah.
And they're getting down deep. I know we're doing with one of them. We're doing T.S. Eliot later in the year.
I've got my book back there.
Yeah.
Aaron Facer and I went through it, but I mean, of course, I could go through that again and again.
I did a buddy read it with someone in like 2022, something like that. Because it had now see the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock is probably my favorite modern poem.
Wow.
For whatever reason, I really feel for old Prufrock.
yeah. Let us go then, you and I, where evening is stretched across the sky like a patient etherized upon a table. That's a great poem.
It
Great
is.
poem.
It really is. The mermaids do not sing for me. That's the line. Like when I was young, that really sort of struck me because I can.
Pretty good. The mermaids, sad. Wow.
All right.
I find myself more and more these days saying, I grow old, I wear the bottoms of my trousers.
My trousers grow old.
And
I heard a great comment on that. You're like, why would you wear the bottom of your trousers rolled? Does anyone know?
Yeah, so that I don't get scuffed up in that.
No.
No?
It was the fashion of the time.
Oh, cool.
And someone commented, and I read this like in the early 90s. I grow old. He said, if he had wrote it in the 90s, he says, I grow old, I will wear all black.
I got jeans on today. I wear black though sometimes.
All right. What about you, Alan? What have you been reading?
Well, I finished the Bone Tree with you.
Oh, we both finished the Bone Tree.
Yeah, that was an exciting read. I read it 20 years ago, and I remembered that one scene about when they find the tree and that the scout, the Black Scout, turns on her.
Mm-hmm.
I remembered that.
Well, don't provide any real spoilers for the book because there's some people who may want to read it.
Yeah. Well, hell with them. No. And, I doubt. Well, that's true. You don't want to spoil books.
You don't want to spoil it. That's a big scene to spoil in the book because we'll just leave it at that. It's a big scene to spoil.
Yeah, that's true. Sorry about that. And then I'm talking about praiseworthy again. Ariane can back me up on this. Boy, it's been a trek, but 3 months worth in a group, 600 plus pages. But I feel like I've talked about that for 6 months here.
I know. I think you're taking too long to read the book. I think that's your problem.
Yeah, so I think you're right. Yeah, the group should have only been like a month or two. Yeah, I think you're right for sure. And then, Steinbeck. We're in that, and that's really moving to me. Really cathartic. It's like up and down roller coaster. That's going well. And he's becoming my favorite American author. James Joyce, Finnegan's Wake Group, still, we're supposed to be our last month this month, but we all voted we're going to keep on reading it, keep on going.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? I think the Wake has bit some people in the butt. That was my intention. It sure did me. What do you got? You got a copy?
Eden and Grapes of Wrath ready to go.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then I also have on Travels with Charlie as well.
I'm
Mhm.
also going to read Travels with Charlie in July because that was the pick for my in-person book group.
Oh, cool. I think I'll read
So
it too.
it just happened to be Travels with Charlie and happened to be Summer of Steinbeck. So I get to
I'm gonna
double
read
dip.
it too. Yeah, shoot, I forgot I'm reading with the winner of our discontent with Pat too. So that's another Steinbeck I'll be
Yeah,
reading.
I was going to do that, but with Travels with Charlie, I may have to back out of Winter of Discontent.
So Travels with Charlie. And then I'm still reading Borges. Once in a while, I want to read. What's that? Fume Memory.
His Memory. That's a good one.
Yeah, I'm going to read that next.
All right.
Yeah, that's about it, I think.
All right. Let's catch up on comments. Hello, Constance.
Hey,
Constance.
Constance.
Hello, Gareth.
Hey, Gareth.
Ariane says she loves. I already mentioned that one. What is this novel? Did Greg write it? I think she's talking about the B.M. Bowery book. I don't think you read it.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting.
I'm
I'd like
gonna have to look her up and see if I can get a good Kindle edition.
Yeah, and it's definitely available on Project Gutenberg, and there may be other options, but
The formatting is bad on Project Gutenberg. It's hard to read when you transfer it over to your Kindle. So I'm willing to pay 99 cents to have someone do a professional job on it. Yeah,
I a lot of times with Gutenberg just read it on my browser, just on the laptop, just get the straight up HTML version, and I find and I've also become a real fan of reading while listening to an audio version.
I love
I
that.
can do that.
If a book's not gelling with you,
Yeah,
the audiobook, and then all of a sudden it really helps just to seal it in. It slows down your reading pace a bit. For most people, it slows it down, but you pick up so much more.
yes.
I just did that. I'll talk about that in just a minute when I get to my books. There's Dorothy and John Man Called Horse. Berryman, yes, he's a challenge. Hey, Lee. Welcome back, Lee. Oh, goodness. Welcome back, Greg. Great to have you back. Joanna, my favorite poem, too. J. Alfred, love song of J. Alfred Prufrock. Yep. Here's another person that says Prufrock is my favorite. I guess a lot of people like that. I guess it touches a lot of people. Ariane loved that poem. Lee would like to join. I think she's thinking about the T.S. Eliot group. Voxer me, Lee. Remind me to get you in that group. I think it's only on Discord, though. I'm not positive.
Yeah. Thomas's Discord.
Yeah, I think it's on someone else's Discord channel. I know, Lee, that you don't like Discord that much. Ariane, praiseworthy is a wild ride. Well, hello, Nicole.
Hey, Nicole. Hey, Lee was telling me that Mount Vesuvius is erupting again. Did you hear about that, you guys?
Nope.
I didn't either. I need to Google that because I'm going to. You have this too, don't you, Greg?
Yes, that's the one on Pliny.
Okay, so you're going to read that for Nonfiction November?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think I'm going to remind them.
Okay. So for me, I've been doing like Greg, June on the Range, and I finished this one a couple days ago. This is part of the Edge series, known as the most violent Western series ever written. I don't know if that's true, but it is very violent. It is the sixth book in the Edge series, and essentially, Edge is a rogue cowboy, sort of. He gets in lots of fights. The author, it says here, George G. Gilman. That is a pen name for a British author. I believe Terry Harkness, something along those lines. And what's curious is that I read a different Western called Jubalcade, written by, I don't remember the author, but it's Terry Harkness writing under a different pen name. And that one was about a Chicago orphan who went to England to study medicine, then came back with a British wife, and they're going to go out west to be a doctor. And what's really curious is in Jubalcade, there is a scene where one of the bad guys kidnaps a woman. She's buck naked. He says, I'm going to kill her unless you give me a horse and let me escape. In this book, there's a scene where one of the bad guys kidnaps a naked woman and says, give me a horse or I'm going to kill her if you don't let me escape. So really the exact same setup. I think both or one was written in 71 and one is 72. My guess is he could have written these books back to back and just said, I'm going to use this scene over and over again. But it's a pretty, Terry Harkness in the introduction in the first Edge book says he had never read a Western book before he wrote the first book in this series. Yeah,
that's really interesting to me about British people writing Westerns. I'm kind of preoccupied here because my laptop's running out of juice, so I have to plug it in. But you like Longhorn better than Edge?
Longhorn?
Yeah.
Long Arm. Okay. Long Arm is a completely different style of Western. Long Arm.
Romance.
No. Long Arm is pornography.
Oh, essentially. Romance.
not romance. There's a whole bunch of those kind of MJ calls them cowboy trash. I call them naughty Westerns.
Yeah, she likes them.
Adult Westerns. Well, what it is that you have a Western book and you can write the Western book as a normal Western, but every 3-4 chapters, the cowboy gets laid.
Right.
Chapter, it's just him getting laid, has really very little to do with the plot. And it's really rather explicit in the ones that I've read.
Yeah. Well,
sort of like if you had ever read Penthouse Forum, I know when I was a teenager, I read that all the time. It's that level of explicitness. Essentially erotica pornography.
Right.
But it's just chapters thrown in. And if you took out those chapters, I think the story would just run as a standard Western.
June on the Range.
June on the Range. I'm saving my naughty Westerns for Garb August. I know MJ and Criminale are both doing Long Arm, I think. I sort of been focusing more on the Gunsmith of the same variety, but they're essentially the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Wild West.
Wild West. And just tonight, a few hours before I started, I finished reading a book called The Man Was Thursday. A Man Named Thursday by G.K. Chesterton.
Oh, I've heard of him.
Yes. It's really a rather bizarre and fascinating mystery where there is a policeman who is ordered to infiltrate an anarchist dynamiting group. And there are 7 council members, each named for a day of the week. And he gets himself elected to be a council member. So he gets named Thursday. That's why the man named Thursday. But it has a very interesting twist that's kind of obvious from the beginning, because the police officer was talking to another anarchist to introduce him to this group. And he says, I'm a real anarchist. And I tell people I'm an anarchist because if you tell people you're an anarchist, they're not going to believe you're an anarchist. They're going to think you're just pretending. And that's my cover. Let people think I'm pretending when I'm really an anarchist.
Yeah, so it sounds a bit like Against the Day, that part about in the West when they were dynamiting, and that was a fun part of
it. Was I like the Cisco Dynamiter?
Yeah,
Cisco Dynamiter. Yeah, so it's a very interesting mystery because at one point he's in the council, And the leader of the council says, we have an infiltrator. We have a traitor in our group. And here's the main character go, oh, how did they catch me right away? And he pointed out someone else. This man is a police officer. Oh, there was another police officer infiltrating this group. And it just gets wilder and wilder after that. And it's subtitled A Nightmare. And it's very hallucinogenic or hallucinatory in many ways. And it was written in 1908. Really fascinating. It's available for public domain if you like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then
I had just recently I always thought of G.K. Chesterton just as Father Brown, right? That's the only thing I associate.
Oh yeah, he did that too.
And just recently I've been seeing a lot of references to some of the other works he did, which sound pretty fascinating. This is one of them. Yeah,
he has another one. There's another Man Who Something. It was turned into an Alfred Hitchcock movie. Man Who Knew Nothing.
The others might know.
Some of the comment groups can look up C.J. Chesterton, Man Who, and they can put in the comments because I forgot his second one.
Yeah.
And
movies, films.
Another book I'm in the middle of, it's actually a reread. It's called Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky.
Mm-hmm.
It is a science fiction novel. And I'll start off. It's really one of the best science fiction novels written in the past 20 years.
Wow, man. Everyone seems to be reading it. It must be.
And the setup is there's a galactic empire with humanity in charge. And this scientist has this terraformed world. And she wants to put down monkeys on the planet. And she puts down this virus, which was like an evolutionary accelerator, which would basically push evolution really, really fast. And there is a group of dissidents who are totally opposed to this project. So her project gets sabotaged. Her monkeys are being sent down to the planet, but because of the problem, it burns up on entry. But the virus was sent down in a different delivery system and did not burn up. So this virus was intended for monkeys. But viruses can jump species, and it jumped to spiders.
Yes, I heard about that.
And it's a slow, well, actually,
that's all I've heard.
Evolutionary progress of spiders. And
yeah, that's all I've heard.
What this author did, I think it was really rather clever, because you just can't have characters, spider characters, across multiple generations. It get too confusing. So every spider character who's the main character is named Portia. And she always have Bianca is her colleague, and she has other ones named Viola. So there's some continuity between the characters because they're all descendants from the first spider, and they're all named the same. But what I like is that Tchaikovsky at least attempts to get his science correct. You read some science fiction novels and the author just has no attempt to say, well, a sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, so I don't understand so I don't need to know how the science works. Tchaikovsky puts a lot of effort to make sure that you understand how the science could feasibly work under this situation. And I really appreciate that kind of science.
Yeah.
And then there's another subplot I won't get into about human colonists trying to get onto this world and being rejected by the AI version of the scientist who's in control of the world, but unaware that her subjects are spiders and not monkeys. There's really good science fiction. If Book Chat with Pat is still here, she could probably vouch for me because she read that like last month or 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's catch up with some comments. Praiseworthy is a wild ride. Yeehaw, says Nicole. Lee says, oh, if Proofrock is there, don't waste your time. Oh, she's talking about being on Discord. Hey, Fred. Read by Fred is here.
Right.
Gareth, I will be reading the first Edge book at the end of the week. You're in for an experience, Gareth. You have to let us know what you think about it, because it's very different from a lot of the American Westerns. Actually, Lee. Ready 3 with cowboy hats give me the feeling of missing out.
Yeah.
I'm now wearing my cowboy hat. All right.
All right, Fred.
Dusty porn, says Constance. Oh, that's another good name for it. That's the cowboy naughty westerns. Gareth says, I was about to say the long arm sounds like Garbagis material. I read a naughty western for every Garbagist. It's just a tradition. Like I have to read a
I just said a weird thought.
what?
I think of naughty westerns and all that. I think of venereal disease. I'm sure there's not much mention of that in the books. That'd be a big downer, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
God, Western sex. That's a whole topic in itself.
Joanna, just noting the names. Terry Harknett was writing as George G. Gilman. I think keep saying Gilmore, but it's Gilman.
Oh.
Constance, you're very welcome. Chesterton is British too. Yes, he is British. GK, The Man Who Was Thursday. Yeah, that's the one they just finished. He has another one who starts The Man Who Was Something. The Man Who Knew Too Much. Yeah, right afterwards. There we go. The Man Who, I believe that was an Alfred Hitchcock film.
Movie. Or, TV show, you said?
No, it was a Hitchcock movie. Well, Hitchcock didn't do TV. He was back in the 50s, something like that. Children of Time is easily in my top 5 books of all time, says Gareth. Yeah, I can understand that. Gareth, also one of the first books I reviewed on my channel.
It must have been about 5 years ago.
It was 5 years ago. Exactly. Adrian Tchaikovsky, just writing out the name. Yeah, Joanna. He's really becoming my favorite living science fiction author. That used to be held by Peter F. Hamilton. But Peter F. Hamilton, I don't think is writing books anymore. Or hasn't published one. No, he did do some young adult books. And then sort of drifted off, and I'm sort of biased that I don't really read young adult books. So if he went that direction, but Adrian Tchaikovsky is still good. And I'm rereading this book, Children of Time, because he has 2 sequels, Children of Ruin and Children of Memory, if I got my titles right. And these are about other worlds where life is evolving, and one is an octopus or something like that. And I don't remember what the animal is in Children of Memory. But he's really exciting because now this one I said was pretty solid on the science. He has another series called the Final Architecture series, or Final Architect series, which he's really loosey-goosey on the science in that one, but it's good space opera.
How many pages is that?
Children of Time, about 600.
Okay. Yeah, I thought it was really big.
I'm listening to the audio. I mean, I've read the Kindle version before.
Oh.
And I picked up the audiobook version of Children of Time. I think it was for free or something, or $1.99. I picked it up. And then the second book, Children of Ruin, was on a buy one, get one free book deal. I said, I'll just pick it up. And after I picked up the second one, I said, well, now I've really got to commit to reading this series again.
Exactly.
Okay, Fred says, okay, I wonder which Greg he's talking about. Well, we'll both have to answer it. So, Greg, when did you start reading? How many books do you think you own at the moment? I'll let the ghost readers in the sky get the first one.
I am not a big. I'm very careful about what I keep in my book collection. I I do a lot of when I can find versions online, when I can get it from the library, when I can get an audio version. Um, that's what I do most of the time. Most of the books that I have here are books that I have read and I love, and I want to make sure that I have a copy or two or three of the books that I really enjoy. So I am not as big on going out even to a thrift store, used bookstore, and getting a big stack, because I'd rather get a nice version. Somewhere right up here is a Heritage Library version of Kidnapped, which actually
Okay.
Michael K. Vaughan showed his same version on a one that he did the other day. Um, and I'm willing to pay a little bit more money for a really nice version of Kidnapped with the nice end papers and the maps and everything else, um, rather than $2 or $3 for a paperback is a good deal. But I'm not necessarily looking for a good deal. I'm looking for something that is uh, something that has some real beauty along
Right.
with being practical.
Yeah.
So I don't own a lot of books, um, and I'm happy with where I am.
I know that I don't buy a lot of physical books anymore. I mean, obviously, if you look and see my videos, I have shelves and shelves of physical books. So I used to buy a lot. But now I'm totally fine with Kindle library books or audiobooks for my basic consumption of books. There are some that, like, if I listen to a really good audiobook, I will go ahead and buy the paperback or the Kindle version if I see it on a good deal. But at this point, is like the physical books are hard to keep and move around.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm fortunate that I have the space for physical books. Not everyone has the amount of space that I do.
Tell me
So
about it.
I can see that why people are very what am I saying? Cautious about buying a lot of books. Now, you mentioned your favorite was Kidnapped. I recently reread Treasure Island in April. I really loved Treasure Island. As you know, it's now. Do you think Kidnapped is the better book, or is Treasure Island the better book?
I prefer Kidnapped.
Okay.
Um, I had reread Treasure Island right at the end of last year. I found the I don't remember if it was Netflix, but there was a TV series called Black Sails that was written as a prequel to Treasure Island. So you learn how Long John Silver lost his leg, and you learn about Captain Flint and Billy Bones, and a lot of the characters who uh, either play minor roles in Treasure Island or are just referred to. Um, and so then I had to go and read Treasure Island again. I don't know how many times I've read that book. Um, and then I read Kidnapped shortly after. I I think that it's the uh, that Jacobite period in Scotland is a really fascinating time period for me. Partly because my ancestors were expelled from Scotland by I don't know, Gareth and Gavin's ancestors. Making it up, but after the Battle of Culloden, and you know Scotland kind of lost it. That was kind of the last chance to uh, have anything that looked like independence, and so I think that's a fascinating time. And so having a book that was set just after Culloden, even though it was written 200 years later, Robert Louis Stevenson writing historical fiction about the Scottish Highlands, and the post Culloden world, and all of the prescriptions that were put on the Scottish people.
Hmm.
Just a fast. I love that mixture, and then it's a really good story as well. So I prefer Kidnapped, but Treasure Island is right up there next to it.
Yeah, well, see, right now, because I read Treasure Island in April, that's standing out in my mind. I read Kidnapped 15 years ago, so
Yeah,
the details are gone, but I should put that on my list of something to read. Because again, it's like what, a 200-page book, something like that.
yeah, it's not very
Really
long.
and fast. Here's one for you, Greg. Who are your favorite authors? From Gareth.
Right now, I think my favorite author right at the moment is Jack London. I have really been. I reread Call of the Wild. I thought I had read White Fang, but I read that recently, and I don't think I'd read that before. And I love some of his speculative fiction, especially The Iron Heel. And I just started. I'm about a quarter of the way through Burning Daylight,
I've
which is
not heard of that one.
It's another one that's set in the Yukon. Um, uh, it was written in 1910, but it starts in 1895, before the Klondike Gold Rush happened. And it's so far I'm just thoroughly enjoying it. But and then Jack London's short stories, of course, I was enthralled by To Build a Fire when I read that for the first
To
time.
Build This Fire is such a good short story.
And The White Silence is a great story, and he has
he has another science fiction story called The Red Something.
Yes.
You know the story I'm talking about.
Yes.
It's just not coming. It's just not hitting my brain.
I have not read that one. I'm actually thinking for Rocket Summer, I may do a deeper dive into Jack London's proto science fiction.
I mean, I've never read Iron Heel, but I've always wanted to read Iron Heel. Now, my Rocket Summer list is set for this year, but I can just pick that up sometime in the rest of the year because, again, Jack London books are not long. They're not complicated. You can knock them out in a day or two. And they're usually pretty good. Like I did Call of the Wild and White Fang reread. Call of the Wild was a reread for me. And I've only read White Fang once, but that was like 15 years ago. And he's a very talented author who died so young and put out so much.
Yeah. And then he started as a journalist, and so he wrote quite a bit of nonfiction that I haven't explored much of either. So there's some areas of Jack London that I really want to explore some more over the next year or two or four.
Okay.
I haven't read him. Maybe as a youngster, but
he's worthwhile to read.
Yeah, so many people. I have blank spots. So many.
So Joanna says, "What would you recommend from Peter F. Hamilton?" Pandora's Star. It is it's the first part of another book. The second part is Judas Unchained. Each volume is about 1,000 pages long, but really it's a 2,000-page novel that the publisher just said, "You've got to split this up into multiple volumes. It's just too long." But it has a really great storyline. I'll just give the basic storyline. In essence, humanity has built hyperdrive ships where you can just jump from one part of the universe to the other. And they're exploring the vast, unexplored areas of space. And they come across a Dyson sphere. Does everyone know what a Dyson sphere is?
I don't.
A Dyson sphere is when you have a sun with a container around it. and it can contain multiple planets, so it's huge. You know, this massive alien technology.
Hmm.
And they go, what is it? And they say, of course, they start exploring it. And they, on this Dyson sphere, they can find this control center. And they accidentally turn off the Dyson sphere. So it just sort of collapses. And there was a reason for this Dyson sphere.
Oh, well, wait a second. How did they accidentally turn it off? That
Well,
sounds like
it's just like you're in the computer control room and you hit the off switch.
and that didn't make you mad, or that was all right with you?
Well, I've turned off computers by mistake.
Oh, well,
The
yeah,
idea
but
is
that's
that
still.
you're smart enough not to turn it off, but it may be a
All
little
right.
more complicated. I read it a number of years. It's probably a little more complicated, but they accidentally
Oh.
turned off this Dyson sphere.
All right.
And it
Okay.
contained a very vicious form of alien that hated all other life forms. So there was a very good reason that this ancient alien race put up this Dyson sphere.
Yeah, man.
The alien is Morning Light Mountain, and it's really one of the great alien villains in science fiction. And again, it's this 2,000-page novel, multiple characters, multiple storylines that all come together really well at the end. And then he wrote some other sequels in this universe called the Commonwealth Saga, and they're all worth checking out.
Wow. Sounds like a Gene Wolfe type writer.
Now, the problem is Peter F. Hamilton, he writes big books. He really, I mean, his small ones are 600 pages. So
Maybe for 2028.
maybe.
For me,
Gareth says Tchaikovsky studied zoology and psychology at university. I can believe that.
big spiders.
Lee says, guys, I've been reading Holy Blood, Holy Grail, the New York Times bestseller. That features the Templars. If I'm not mistaken.
I would like it.
You might.
I'll look that
John
one up. Lee?
says, I have 3 copies of my favorite book, and I need them all.
Yes.
Well, now you have to tell us what book it is, Constance.
Yeah, you do.
Confederacy of Dunces.
I have I now have 2 physical copies of Confederacy of Dunces.
Yeah, you have that cover, that old cover.
Oh,
one.
I'll show it because it's a magnificent find.
Yeah, that might be my favorite comedic novel. That, or I'll decide when we reread JR this year, Gaddis. But Confederacy of Dunces, New Orleans, wild characters.
All right, let's do a compare and contrast.
You're trying to get me for Vagrant. Who's that character, Greg?
That's Jones.
Jones. I'm not a Vagrant.
All right, this is the traditional cover that you'll pick up nowadays. It's okay. You sort of get the idea of the main character, Ignatius, what he looks like. But I found the first mass market paperback edition from 1981 for $3.
Isn't that cool? Yeah, compared to this.
Well, let me get rid of her comment, so you can see the cover better. That's just such a fabulous cover, and I got it for $3.
I know. It's wild.
They do have a folio edition of Confederacy of Dunces, but last time I checked, it was like $300.
Oh man.
And I'm going, I like it, but my BookTube channel has to do a little bit better than what it's doing.
You can just write it off on your taxes.
Actually, I can. Because
Yeah.
now I'm monetized. I can just say, oh,
My
it's
version's falling apart, Greg. It's falling apart. Damn. Go ahead.
yeah. So yeah, technically I can write it off of my taxes, but
Yeah, man. I'm getting serious.
yeah, but the problem is, even though I'm monetized, I don't make that much money that trying to save some money on taxes. It's just like, it's not really worth the time.
Yeah, and you said they put up an ad in the middle of it once, or of the show, an advertisement.
Oh, for a live show? Yeah.
Yeah, did
Well,
they?
I did monetize one of the live shows, and I guess some people were talking, and they just like cut out, and they put an
Oh,
ad in, and
that's
so
crazy. Probably a
hopefully
Trump ad.
I don't do that on my live shows anymore. So hopefully YouTube doesn't do that. But you know something, YouTube might do it anyway, and then I don't get a piece of the pie.
I was surprised when YouTube they were able to take out music in a video of mine, like from the middle of the video, or not from the beginning, from like the mid, right? The music out. I didn't know they could do that.
Yeah. That was
They
your Kent
messed up my
State.
editing, like
That was
my
your Kent State video, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
you
was
try to
kinda fun.
play Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, Ohio, if I'm not mistaken.
That's what it was, and they took it out.
Well, it's copyrighted. Now, what's
I know,
really
but they took it right out of the middle of the video. How'd they do that? I don't
Magic.
know. It
What
must be.
happened was, I did a video a number of months ago. Hold on, of me building an IKEA bookshelf, and I sped up the video really fast because you don't want to spend 20 minutes
No.
of me building. So I sped it up to 2 minutes, about 2 minutes. So I went to the internet and tried to find some public domain music to play, and I came up with a version of Flight of the Bumblebee.
Okay.
And I thought it was public domain because they said, public domain, free to use. I put it in. And then YouTube says that this music is copyrighted under an author sharing agreement. So what they say is that if my video makes X number of dollars, I've got to give X number of cents to the creator of the music.
Wow.
And I said, something, I'm fine with that. I mean, someone played the piano, might as well get 25 cents for it,
Man, I'm in the wrong business. There's all kinds of ways to make money on YouTube. I wish I could figure it out. Or it's like, those people make money on Amazon and stuff, make it sound so easy, but get some comments.
Yeah. Garrison advocate for physical books, but I do have to thin my collection a bit. Lee says, oh yeah, I think she did a double post about Holy Blood. Gareth and Gavin's ancestors, ha ha. I've culled my books many years, and I've culled them too, and I always regret it. Whenever you cull books from your library, you get rid of the wrong books.
Mm-hmm.
Keep the wrong books.
Yeah, you never know when you might need one.
You never know.
And then yours have just went up in value and price. That's funny. You thought you could just buy them again.
Netflix is a prequel to Treasure Island.
Yeah, Black Sails.
Black Sails.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good series. I think it went over I think it had 4 seasons and 8 to 10 episodes per season. And just nicely done. A nice setup with a mixture of characters from Robert Louis Stevenson's book and historical pirates like Blackbeard shows up, and then just some completely made up stuff. But it's I thought that was a nicely done series. I really liked it.
You know what I was reading when I read Treasure Island? There was a comment that every pirate cliche in the modern age essentially comes from Treasure Island. He invented our modern image of the pirate.
Like Dante invented hell.
I guess.
No one knew what hell looked like, really.
Yeah. Or like Owen Wister invented the Western. all
Was he
you know
the one
the
that did the Virginian, Owen Wister?
yeah, yeah, and like Stevenson, the common tropes that you see in many westerns uh, had their origin in Owen Wister. He wasn't the first person to set a novel in the West. He certainly was not the first person to write uh, fiction about the frontier and adventures in the frontier. Because you already had like Last of the Mohicans, James Fenimore Cooper. You had Washington Irving was doing the same thing, um, but they weren't set in the West. So he had the setting. He had that still that frontier adventure. He had of course, all the cattle and but the gunfights and all that.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
much of that he did that first for the most
and
part.
what's curious is that I read some history, and historian says, these gunfighters in the street, that's not history. That really, there was no gun duels in the middle of the street where they do the fast draw. That's all fiction.
Yeah, it's great drama.
It is. I mean, it is kind of great drama, but it's
Well,
just
what
not.
would they do? Did they take it to the OK Corral or what? I've been there in
The Corral was a real gunfight.
Tombstone,
But
Arizona. I've been
it's
there.
not that's like standing with you're on the street and
Yeah,
saying, I can draw faster than you.
right. But I don't know.
I don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah, I mean, Scottsdale, Arizona is known as the most western town. I used to live there. I'm really just like I'm half ashamed of not knowing Spanish, having lived there for all those years. I really don't know a whole lot about the history of the West and that. I've been to Bisbee, Arizona, big copper mine.
Yeah.
Really cool. So I know a little bit just from being a tourist, but a lot of people in Europe and Ireland are fascinated with the West and the 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
Always interested in what you don't grow up in, I guess.
Well, the thing is, the West is our mythology. It's our characters, and I think it was on Garrett's Live where I mentioned like the Old West is the same with like these medieval sagas of knights that Europe has. The real knights probably weren't much like
yeah.
those were.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see your point. I mean, you couldn't say that about like the Civil War era because it's true, Yeah, it's an interesting point, Greg.
Vivid short story for sure. Here's one. Can you? This is for Greg. Can you tell us about the name Ghost Readers in the Sky?
I thought it was a great pun on Ghost Riders in the Sky. A song that has I think was first written. Stan Jones wrote it, I think in like 1912 or some. He wrote it a long time ago. Johnny Cash had the great big hit with it in the late 60s, early 70s. But it's the idea of a cowboy, old cowpoke went riding out one dark and windy day, and then he sees the ghost riders in the sky who are chasing the devil's herd, who they never can catch. And it's cowboy, mend your ways today, or with us you must ride, trying to catch the devil's herd. And so it's a warning to cowboys to do the right thing, or else you're going to have to chase the devil's cattle, and you'll never catch them, and you'll do that forever.
I didn't know all that. I thought Morrison wrote it. I mean, he borrowed from the idea or the poem.
Yeah. Yes. Stan Jones wrote it and did an early recording, probably on like Decca Records or, some similar. And then, Johnny Cash had the big hit with it. If you ever hear it on uh, in a soundtrack or anything like that. It's almost always.
I like Johnny Cash a lot. Old stuff, even his new stuff before he died. With I forget who produced it. Some rap guy.
Rick Rubin.
Oh, Rubin did, yeah. Okay, those are a few. There's like more than one album.
Yeah, and they called them all Cash American, and then they put Roman numerals. Got up to like American 5 or American 6 before he passed away. But he was doing covers of Soundgarden and Pearl Jam. And
Right, 9 Inch Nails. Yeah, that's when he did Hurt.
yeah, Rusty Cage. His version of Rusty Cage is pretty impressive.
Yeah, I'm going to listen to it once we get off. Computer. Yeah. I don't know how Henry can be so heavily bored. Well, yeah, back in the 50s, they didn't have a computer in your hand, I mean, just amazing. I've got an idea for like a novel, and I've got the first chapter and all this stuff. And with AI and that, you can ask, like, how do you pick a lock? How do you go about, what's the capital of Afghanistan, or just,
Although AI is really not a very good writer. I actually had AI write a short story for me. It was like really bad.
Right. But God, I remember back in the day, not so long ago, 80s and even 90s, called the librarian was a Google. Yes, Alan, what? But
All right, let me catch up with some comments here. I got too many comments here.
oh,
Joanna says, yes, but your computer didn't contain a sun. She's responding to someone else who says that alien technology seems kind of fishy. It also could be, oh, there it is right underneath there. Yeah, that alien tech sounds kind of fishy. Remember, that's my memory of a book that I read 12 years ago. So the author could have been had a little more nuance to it than what I remember. Sounds great concept. 2,000 pages, though. Yeah. And if you include the other books in the series, that would be 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, close to 7,000 pages of story in this universe. So, but they're good. I really enjoyed them. But he's not writing books anymore. That's the cover I've got. I think he's talking about my copy of Confederacy of Dunces. Or maybe he's talking about the other one. Oh, Constance replied, my favorite book is still Life After Life by Kate Atkinson. Great characters, English countryside, London during the Blitz, etc., etc. I read that. Oh, 2007-ish? No, 2009-ish, somewhere around there. So I did like it. It's a very, Greg, do you know the concept of that book?
Yeah, I love that book.
Well, there are lots of books where people get to relive lives over again and try to change things. Now, the 15 Lives of Harry August. There's a female author. I'm pretty sure Gareth loves that author because he's mentioned her a couple of times. He's good, or she's good. Then there is a book, Replay by Ken Griswold. That's another. It's really great because I'll give you the basic story. There's a man. He's like 45 years old. He's sitting in his office one day, and he has a heart attack and dies. He wakes up again. He's in his first days of college, but he remembers his entire life before. So he's able to recreate his memory of vast fortune.
Wow, yeah.
But when he hits 45 again, he has a massive heart attack and dies. And then he lives. Now, it's not that he can't recreate the second life he had, but he tries to recreate it again. And one of the side stories is he falls in love with a girl who's also experiencing this same thing where she dies and relives, and they try to get back together again in their second lives. But the only problem is when it happens is she's 15 and he's 25. But the problem is every time he gets a new life, he goes into it a little bit later. So it's like the first time he's a freshman in college, second time he's a graduate student or whatever, a graduate student.
Yeah.
So his times start shrinking and shrinking. And eventually he's lived enough lives is that when he dies at 45, he comes back to life at 44. And it shrinks and shrinks. Now you know where this is going.
Yeah.
And it's a really good science fiction book.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sorry, that's probably way too much for you, but Replay by
Yeah.
Ken Greenwald. Great
Yeah.
start.
And I think, if I'm Kate Atkinson's book starts with a very short scene,
Falling out of a
who's our
window?
protagonist, who has pulled out a gun and is about to shoot Hitler. And,
I don't remember that. I remember just whatever she starts, she falls out of a window or something.
Yeah,
like that.
and that's the very first scene and then we go back to her childhood, and like 2 or 3 pages in, she falls out a window or falls down the stairs and dies. And
I have that
And
book
it's-
around somewhere. I couldn't find it.
yeah, and that's a great book.
All right. Gareth is going to check it out. And Gareth, I'd love to hear your thoughts. My live covers Ohio have stayed on YouTube though. I wonder if live covers are different
Yes, they are.
rather than recorded, because I remember it
I don't know about that.
is that a lot of times you will have professional musicians listening to other musicians' recordings. I know they did one like a Pink Floyd, and they did a live. It was like whatever, Comfortably Numb or something, and they did them reacting to a live version of Comfortably Numb, because I think the studio version is completely copyrighted, but for whatever reason you can comment on live covers. Don't know the rules about that. Maybe Gareth knows the rules. He's a musician.
IDK. I just know that your own music is no problem.
Right. Black Sail says great music. I thought the Norse invented hell, says Constance. Well, the early the Bible had visions of hell, but it wasn't very well described until Dante.
Yeah.
And Dante
And-
just made it all up.
Then the North are Asatru myths. If I'm not mistaken, Asatru. So yeah, I'm like pretty ignorant about, other than knowing the name. They might have their own hell. Yeah, we'll have to talk about that, Constance, after the show. Talk on Boxer.
FYI from earlier discussion, Fort Catslop is 5 miles southwest of Astoria. Lewis and Clark wintered at Fort
Right.
Catslop before returning to St. Louis in the spring of 2006.
Right. Seaside.
been
the
I've seen Astoria before. It's a nice
Mhm.
little place on the border of Washington State and Oregon.
Indeed.
Yeah, right at the mouth of the Columbia. That's it.
Yes, we actually stayed at a B&B that was a former canning factory, and they built out the rooms over the Columbia, so your room
Wow.
is actually above the river, and you can look out at the massive rapids as it's leaving.
Yeah. I like when I go up to Washington, like you cross the big bridge. I like looking at all the houseboats. You go over the bridge and stuff. Just imagine what it's like to live there. And then there's a lot of wild video on YouTube about little boats getting tossed around in the Columbia like little corks.
Well, there's a maritime museum in Astoria that my wife and I went to, and they mention really how dangerous that is to navigate through, and that if you have a ship on there, you have to have a pilot come on your ship to navigate it through all the danger zones.
Yeah, you have to have the pilot boat to guide you through because the sandbars shift so much
Oh, wow.
that yeah, you gotta have somebody
Hmm.
who can guide you through to get into the Columbia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Fleet Week up here where they take out a lot of ships, mostly from Canada, down Columbia. And Patricia H., some people know her. She's a commenter. Told me a story about her dad knew somebody who knew the president of the Rose Parade. She took a battleship down the Columbia to Portland one Fleet Week. That'd be an experience.
So Garrett says, Al, are you thinking of Riders on the Storm?
Yeah, I am. What was? Yeah, Ghost Riders on the Storm. Yeah, I mean,
No, completely different. Albert says, I think Rick Rubin produced 5 Johnny Cash albums.
yeah. Who said that? Albert. Right
Albert,
on.
I said he's our guest next week.
Yeah.
Cash covering Deepak Mode is the biggest surprise, I think. Personal Jesus. I don't know that one.
Well, oh yeah, I like that. Your Own Personal Jesus. That's a great song.
I only know Plastic Jesus song. Anyone know the Plastic
Don't care
Jesus
if
song?
it rains or freezes, as long as I got
My Plastic Jesus.
I don't know that song. I'll have to look that up too.
Look it up on YouTube.
God, I'm so dumb. I thought Riders on the Storm was Ghost Riders in the Sky. Thanks for pointing that out, Gareth. Make me look like an idiot.
Past performed Ghost Riders on the Muppet Show.
Appreciate it.
That's a curious place to do it.
What?
Replay my favorite time travel, says Gareth. Okay, Gareth agrees with me. You're talking about Harry August. I love that book too, as he said. That's right.
Harry August.
The 15 Lives of Harry August. Claire North. I think that's her name, Claire North.
Cool.
Here's Gareth giving me some information. You can get caught for copyright on live stuff. It depends on, it's being policed. You're supposed to send your live set list to the royalty agencies so they can pay the songwriters. Okay. Alan, I would need to research the Norse. I was hoping one of you would understand my vague memory bursts.
Yeah, I read that. Constant.
Cool Hand. I've got to read Cool Hand Luke one of these days. I have the book on my shelf, but never read it.
Great movie.
Oh, that's right, because Paul Newman gets out his guitar and sings Plastic Jesus in Cool Hand Luke
Oh, he does?
I don't.
That's a great.
in the film. Yeah.
With the eggs and
Yep.
even the opening scene. I won't say anything about it. Spoil it.
What we have here is a failure to communicate.
Yeah, it's a good line.
All right, so Greg, what other YouTube events are you going to be participating in this year?
I'm probably going to do some Rocket Summer, and then I don't know. I was thinking about Garbaugust, and I tried some things in the at the halfway point wasted weekend, right? And it didn't go as well for me as I thought it might. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do for August. I may or I may not.
I see. I've got my Garbaugust lists. I'm thinking about it already.
Yeah. I do like focusing on nonfiction in November, and I probably will do that. I read quite a bit of nonfiction, but I think I'll focus more on history and essays and travel logs and things like that that I really enjoy, that I just don't pick up as much. And I find using nonfiction November is a nice way to get back into those books that I enjoy them. So
Do you have a favorite kind of nonfiction?
I think that I like things about journeys, so I'm kind of excited about Travels with Charlie, which I haven't read, but like Bill Bryson's A Walk in the Woods.
Oh,
where he
Walk in the
walks
Woods.
the Appalachian Trail, right? That's a fantastic book, and he's talking about his time on the Appalachian Trail, but he's mixing it in with stories from the history of the trail and stories about the various communities along the way, and the people he meets, and it works really nicely. And I think those are the kinds of things that I enjoy the most. I think Randy Ray. I don't know. Are you in on the Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance?
I talked about it. I said I've joined. I read it before, but if it goes down, I would definitely be up for a reread.
But again, it's framed by the motorcycle trip, but there's a lot of other stuff going on, and I find that style where there's some journey going on, and you're mixing in other thoughts. You use that to springboard into other ideas. I think that's one of my favorite ways to do things.
Yep. Now, like I said, I was a judge for the Book 2 prize for like 3 years, and I did a lot of nonfiction judging. And I like I like narrative nonfiction for the most part. You don't. I'll get a lot of scholarly or academic books in the Book 2 prize, but those nonfiction books really annoy me a lot. We had one about World War II. It was a 1-volume history of World War II. It was 1,000 pages, but there's more than 1,000 pages of World War II you need to squeeze in a book. And I remember the author cut corners for the normal reader. Now, if I said, "Do you know who Rummel is?" You probably know Rummel.
Mm-hmm.
But he just says, "Well, Rummel was in Africa doing this," without any sort of introduction to who Rummel is. Now, if you studied World War II, you don't need an introduction to Rummel.
Yeah,
I did.
Even I know that much, that he was in Africa, right?
Right, but there are other people that did the same thing with, and I'm going, who is this person? Because the book was written for scholars of World War II.
Yeah.
This is where I differ from normal history. And it did not work for a general readership. And I'm not real fond of memoirs. And I know, Alan, cover your ears for a second. I really hate solo memoirs. I just cannot stand them. I had to read one for 1 year. She was a child star on Nickelodeon. And I'm going like, I don't care about you and your mother, how badly she treated you.
That was a Britney Spears one.
No, it wasn't Britney Spears. I forgot. It was I'm glad my mother died, or that I don't remember the.
Oh, I remember. I didn't read that one, but I remember it. Yeah, I didn't read Britney Spears either, but a lot of people liked it. I'll be reading Cher's book for volume 1.
Why would you be reading Cher's book?
Because she was married to Greg Allman. Yeah, I want to hear the inside stuff on that.
The Greg factor is strong.
Yeah. Asked and answered.
Okay, I mean, no.
I like Cher, okay. Cher's cool. I want to learn her secrets of longevity.
Yeah, she must be like 90 or something.
I don't know, yeah. mean, if I want to see 90, I'm going to have to get that lung heart transplant in like 2039, I think. That's what I'm counting on. Need a new brain. Well, my computer finally went out. That's why I'm on my phone now. But yeah, that was pretty fast.
Yep. So Garbagus is good for bizarre things you find in secondhand shops. There's
Yeah,
also
I don't know. I was going to read Rockstar by Joe. Who's that? Collins? Not Joan Collins, but her sister is a writer. I forget. Rockstar. Nettie recommended it.
Now here's content saying just subscribe to Ghost Readers in the Sky. You should. I'm going to say that when I was reviewing some of his videos today, I noticed you had 93 subscribers.
Oh.
So hopefully everyone in this channel will go subscribe to your channel and bump you up over to 100. I was going to mention earlier, but I get distracted.
Right. 100 is a nice milestone.
It is. It took me a long time to get to 100. It took me
like
7 months. No. April, May, June, July, August. It took me 6 months to get to 100.
Yeah.
I remember.
I started in January, so I'm right at the 5-month mark.
That's good.
So yeah, that'd be great. That's like a lot of other people. It's not the main reason. It's not why I do this, but it is nice to. It's nice to see people. It's nice to get feedback. It's nice to get those regular commenters extraordinaire who come in and let you know that they watched it and they appreciate it. And I like that.
I know.
Yeah, you'll see. Then the next one is 300. At least for me, it took a long time from 100 to 300. But go ahead, Greg. Go ahead, Greg. Which one? Go ahead, Greg.
I don't even know. I lost my train of thought and it's totally gone.
Well, why don't you go?
Alan lost his hat, but sitting here, it's like we're in the like we're riding in the cab of a pickup, and have our hats on, and you know how to tell the real cowboy if you see three cowboys in the front of a pickup truck. You know how you tell which one's the real cowboy?
The one in the middle.
Yep. You know why?
I don't know if I can say it live, but go ahead.
Well, you may have a different. So you don't have to drive, and you don't have to mess with the gate.
Oh, okay. I have to sit by the window since I, flicking my fucking butts out, which is a no-no. I wouldn't do that. You can't even smoke in pickup trucks anymore. Probably. I don't think that anyone will let you smoke in my pickup. Are you kidding me? Get out of here. Yeah, Cowboys. My dad had
September.
What's that?
Shorty September.
Yeah.
Oh. Now, when I was gone, did anybody mention Faulkner in August?
We have not mentioned Faulkner in August. You can mention Faulkner in August.
Because I asked Greg if he was going to plan to participate, and he said he's going to leave it open. So,
yeah,
that's cool, huh?
You're doing a Go Down Moses.
Right? Go Down Moses.
Yeah.
It's short stories, so you can quit at any time after a short story, really, I guess.
But where's my copy? Is that really? They weren't all short stories, were they?
Oh, some of them are novellas. Hold on.
Oh, okay. Shit. Because I know The Bear is a short story,
no,
and that's in it.
The Bear is a novella. That's the only story I've read out of here. The Bear. 331. 191 to 331. So that's 240 some odd pages, something like that. 140. 240. So it may count as a short novel, depending how you want to do it.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I never read the introduction to this. That's not an introduction. But
Faulkner did. He tried his hand in Hollywood for a while, but he was one of the contributors to the screenplay for The Big Sleep.
I did not know
yeah,
that.
Based
Have and
on
Have
Raymond.
Not too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote
Which is
Have and Have Not
fantastic
too.
film.
All I remember is I was reading some biography or piece of Faulkner at his time in Hollywood, and I guess he was working on some script set in ancient Egypt, and they had the pharaoh, and I guess he asked the director, says, "Can I have him talk like a Kentucky colonel?" Because I guess he knew Kentucky colonels, but not Egyptian pharaohs.
For dialogue, yeah.
Now the problem is, a pharaoh talking like a Kentucky colonel might actually make for a humorous movie.
What's that line from Sartorius or from your teacher, Greg? That isn't there a line that you say about Sartorius in that vernacular? I can't remember.
I don't remember. Okay, was that blonde from iCarly? Yes, I think that was her show. I don't know, because I never watched a TV show. So you're reading someone talk about this TV show you've never seen and never will. And it's just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
So Albert says musicians tend to make better memoirs, actors not so much.
This has been a long time ago, but I absolutely loved Miles Davis's autobiography. He had a co-writer, but that was a really well done book. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I'd like to read that too. I read Cicely Tyson's. That was one of his wives, but I like Miles Davis a lot. Kind of Blue album,
Yep.
etc.
And
Sketches of Spain.
Can I say Bitches Brew?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great double album.
What a great record. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Double album. Boy, that takes you places. That album.
Yeah, and then in his toward the end of his career, he's covering Cyndi Lauper and Michael Jackson, and doing some really so not only did he write and record songs that are now standards, and he worked with so many musicians who were famous on their own later, but he just kept changing based on what he wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Innovator.
You see, I don't. The only musical biography I read was the biography of the German conductor William Furtwängler, and which
you make me laugh.
Above everyone because you don't do classical music. But it was a fascinating biography because he became a conductor after World War I, a young conductor. And he was one of the top conductors in the 30s. And now you know what was happening in Germany in the 30s. And he was not a fan of the Nazi Party. But in order to survive in Germany, you had to at least say you were a fan of the Nazi Party.
Oh, yeah.
And so So he got, and the title of the book was The Devil's Music Master, because a lot of people say he was totally complicit with Hitler during World War II. He was on board with everything. But the biographer was going through and saying, well, not really. And the one scene I remember is Hitler was actually coming to one of his shows, and he did not want to give the Nazi salute. So what do you do? He walked out with his baton in his hand.
Oh.
So he could not give the Nazi, I probably even shouldn't even pretend to do it,
Yeah.
Yeah, people think on Elon
Sure.
Musk or something.
Did you say I don't listen to classical music, Greg?
I don't think you like it as much as you do.
Yeah, I have a Bach and a Mozart.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I sang Handel's Messiah in German when I was a wee lad. And at I think it was a state fair in Columbus, Ohio, our high school choir. I still remember it. Once you practice all that in German.
Mm-hmm.
Shaliki.
Gareth says, I've got a lot of time for Cher. I'd be interested in her biography, actually. Yes, Sonny was brilliant, but a real jerk. Sonny became a congressman in the United States.
Sonny, yeah.
Bono.
Sonny Bono.
He is responsible
California.
for the Extended Copyright Act in the United States.
Really?
He's the one that he's the one that introduced the legislation to increase copyright in the United States to author's life plus 70 years. I think before that it was like plus 50 years or something like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I know he was killed in a skiing accident too.
He was, but he took Disney money to get that legislation out.
I didn't know that.
Suzanne Collins, Alan?
I've read her. What's the question? I like her. The Hunger Games. Yeah. I like the books and the movies. Mockingjay.
I hated the Hunger Games as a book. I thought it was so stupid. Did you ever read that? You read them, Greg?
No, never read them.
I like them.
Didn't read them. Didn't see the films.
You got to be a teenager to enjoy them.
Yeah,
but it might have something to do with Jennifer Lawrence. I really like her. So she's
girl. Okay.
Yeah, she's Katniss. So in my mind, when I read it, she's Katniss. Jackie Collins, Correctamundo. The print is super small now.
Yeah. I met Sonny. Jerk is the right word. Oh, Constance met Sonny Bono.
Wow.
Oh.
Garrett says 96 subs now on your channel. Come on, if you're on there, just sub. You don't have sub. Just get it up.
You'll be over 100 by tomorrow morning.
You think so?
Yep. Yeah.
All right, I won't check. I'll let someone else.
I'll bet you a double eagle.
You don't want to be a double eagle.
No, that's from the Bone Tree.
Bone Tree. You really don't want to be a double eagle.
I'd like to have some though for my coin collection.
Sure. Just to say, I have loved hanging out with you wonderful people. These shows the last 2 days. Well, thank you, Constance.
Thanks, Constance.
Greg, take the wheel. The other two got up for books. I guess she wants you to get up and find a book.
All right. I was going to turn around.
Oh yeah, we got a habit of doing that. I do it so often because I have to relieve myself from drinking so much water and coffee.
All right. So this is I like this a lot. So this is a first edition. I don't know how, because I see there's a lot of glare.
Oh, first edition
of Owen Wister's Virginian.
Okay.
So
yeah,
there are there are a handful of illustrated plates in here, and those tend to fall out, and I am missing one.
Oh no.
And
Oh,
this is not a great copy. It has been well read, well used, but it's not. Let me see if I can find I think I'll find one of the plates. Yeah. So they are full page plates.
Oh, that's neat.
oh man.
And there aren't a lot. I think there are 6 in the book, and I've one was never in this particular copy.
Hmm.
I found another copy that was also missing a plate. It had the one that I needed, but it didn't have, and it wasn't a very good. I guess, but I could have taken them and glued them together, but I decided one of
Yeah, I
these
love
to be
those
invested
etchings.
in a really nice one.
I love etchings like that. Black and white, crosshatch, or
Yeah.
Garrett says we love sharing the lives with you, Constance. Yes, indeed. So Garrett says I'm thinking of doing an event, a December event, Harry for the Holidays, about Harry Harrison, with a focus on West of Eden. Now that is a trilogy, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
I've read the first book many years ago, early aughts.
Yeah. I have only read some of the Stainless Steel Rat book.
Did you ever read
That's
Make Room, Make Room? That's the one Soylent Green was based off of.
oh,
Now I did
should I do a
read.
spoiler for that? Soylent
No.
Green is. Oh, spoiler.
I read the Stainless Steel Rat in high school in the 80s. I went through a bunch of them. It is like devour them like candy.
Yeah, that's
Mhm.
probably when I was reading them as well.
I also recently reread Death World. Did you ever read Death World?
No.
Nope.
That's a pretty good one. Where, long story short, humans are visiting this. A regular human visits this world. It's called Death World because every species on that planet is lethal. If you step on the grass has barbs that are poisonous, so you can't go barefoot. And then there are flying critters that will chew you up, and they're boring creatures that'll eat you, and everything's deadly. That's why they call it Death World. And everyone's trained from birth how to handle a firearm.
Huh.
If you don't learn to draw with a pencil, you're given a gun. Like, this is what you kill.
Dude.
Yeah. All right. Then my only question is, Gareth, are you going to stick with just one book for Harry for the I would do Harry for the Holidays if there's one book. If you're trying to do the whole West of Eden trilogy, I think that's a little too much for 1 month. That's just my opinion.
I have let's see. Just speaking of Harry, if I can find the book that I'm looking for. Yeah. Oh no. Anyway, I'm going to talk about this book anyway, because recently I think it was Thomas McNulty was talking about Will Henry. I was thinking the wrong name, and I have Where the Sun Now Stands. It's the only one of his that I have, but I think it was Thomas who was talking about Will Henry. And it's just could have been Jim, whoever of you it was. One of those people that I watch all the time was talking about Will Henry, who is I think it was Thomas. Yeah, because he was the Western Writers of America give out spur awards in various categories every year, but their prestigious award is called the Owen Wister Award, and Will Henry was the first recipient of the Owen Wister Award, and he won 4 or 5 spur awards over his writing career, and nobody knows who he is.
Really? So they hand out the award. They don't hand out the award in person.
They do it in person now. I mean, and this would have been in the, in the 40s.
Okay.
So, yeah, they've been around for a long time, and are still giving out awards, and they have a Western romance, best Western romance category. So,
Huh.
How interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Gareth loved Death World, Stainless Steel Rat, series that made me a reader. I was just thinking of putting a spotlight on him like I did with Dick the Halls and Winter of Wyndham. I'm down for at least one Harry Harrison book, and I'll commit to that. All right, Greg. Well, we've been on here an hour and 50 minutes.
Well,
this has been a lot of fun. I have really enjoyed this. I'm glad.
I'm glad you came on. It's great. As I said,
this is great.
This is, if I were in a town with a beer joint, I'd go down and drink at a pub. But instead, I have a live show on Mondays, invite people to talk.
Yeah, I'm glad you could make it to it such a short notice, and we'll get you back on again like 3, 4, 6 months, and you tell us how your channel's grown and all that good stuff.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, you ever think about doing that?
This has been great. Thank you.
You ever think about doing an original tag? Think about it. Come up with an original tag about cowboy poetry, or hey, lastly, did anybody watch the Tony Awards last night? No, I like the Tony Awards. I like theater and that. But Keanu Reeves, the actor, and that guy from his partner from Phil and Ted's Excellent Adventure, announced that they're going to do Waiting for Godot on Broadway. I thought that was kind of interesting because I like Keanu. And I think
that would make an interesting pair for that. Are they going to do Vladimir and Estrogen or Estragon?
Yeah, who's going to do who?
I don't know.
Yeah. Man, if I'd like to play not the crazy guy, but is it Ponzo? Ponzo, the guy with the
Lucky.
Yeah, Lucky's a crazy dude.
He's the guy who doesn't speak until you take off his hat.
I like Ponzo.
Well, Ponzo's a very small part.
Yeah, but he's excellent. I mean, you can play it up big time.
Sure, why not? All right, everyone.
Yeah. Thanks again, Greg.
Greg.
Thank you.
And everyone in the chat room, thank you so much for dropping by tonight and chilling with us. Have a great week. Catch you all later.
See you later.